Hi guys, Jared here with Day Traders FX, and it's time for the daily video update. Quick little look, as you guys saw, I posted yesterday. Make sure you're following me on Twitter. You can follow me on Twitter right here. It's twitter.com/daytradersfx. And you can see all my recent tweets here. But I tweeted about this yesterday, posted on the website as well. Talked about this euro update and how we had these are pretty small right there, but you can see that 13100 and 13130 were our levels, and those worked out pretty well. We're going to talk about those in just a moment here. And then on the Aussie dollar as well, I talked about, as you can see there, 10340 and 10385, and we're going to talk about that. Both levels broke. There was money made on both sides, some pretty good activity. So make sure you're watching the website. I update it daily, sometimes a few times a day, sometimes I miss a day. But keep an eye on this and follow us on Twitter and on Facebook, and you'll be able to see the latest there, as well as the daily videos, which are all posted on YouTube, and you can subscribe to my channel right there. Okay, guys, a look at the markets. They have been all over the place. S&P's down a good little chunk. Dow's down a good chunk. 102 points on the Dow. We're just about a little less than an hour away from the close. Oil's kind of floundering. Gold, everything's just once again, we're at that point where, and we've seen this happen a couple times today, where futures are getting crushed, but the dollar does not rally, and that's kind of interesting. And I think a big part of that is due to what we're going to look at in here in just a moment. But we saw some news today. Home sales, new or existing home sales, was down just a little bit. Philly Fed index was not looking so good, and we don't have any really significant news the rest of this week. You can see on Friday we've got retail sales out of the UK. We have the German IFO coming up, so on and so forth. But I think where the big activity and what the markets are really waiting for is coming into next week. You can see on Wednesday we have the FOMC statement, and I think the markets are really heavily, I know they're heavily anticipating that, and that's why we're not seeing a lot of movement right now, because we're trying to figure out what the Fed's going to do, if they're diving back in, if things are bad enough, or if they're staying out. So that's kind of where we are. Dollar index stays right about the same, just hanging around that 80 mark, a little bit above, a little bit below, not really making any progress either direction. Look at the so here's our look. Now, last night in the UK session, the website, the details were posted, and these are notes that I post for the group every day. But I decided to put them on the website last night and just kind of let everyone have a look. And I won't do that regularly because these are reserved for paying members of the group. But you saw that we had these breakouts. 130, 130 broke and ran up almost 40 pips, so there was a run there. 130, 100 broke and ran down about 30 pips, so there's a little run there. So both of our levels worked out nicely, and then the markets kind of continue to just hop around and chop around, and that's exactly what they're doing. They're just chopping around like crazy. So here's where we are with things. Now I'm looking. Remember, 130, 150 is kind of our key level, but now I want to trade off these highs here, and I'm looking more at like 130, 165 as being the breaking point, which means that entry would be more like 130, 170 or 75 to buy this pair. I want to get it, clear of 130, 150, and a few pips above is not quite enough. I think we need probably 20 to 25 pips above this level to really get out of its grasp and through some of those highs. So I'm going to be watching for that, watching for a break of 130, 150. That may or may not happen sooner than later. We've also got this nice trend line, and it made an attempt at it, just wasn't quite able to do it. So I'm looking at about 130.85 to be the breaking point here. I think if the markets get below this, then we're going to see, we'll see this euro potentially double bottom down here at about the 130 mark. So we've got to break 130.80 before that happens. We're going to have a lot of trouble at 130.50, and there's enough pips. There's 30 pips or so to be had in there, but if we can get through that, hopefully we can make it right into that 130 mark. So 130.50 is going to be tough, but our entry is going to be right around 130.80. I just want to see 85 broken, and we'll jump into that. Pound dollar, unfortunately, not a whole lot to do there. It broke our level. This was from a previous day or so ago in the notes, and we had a buy order and got some good pips out of that. That was about it. And I don't really know what else I plan on doing with that pound dollar for the moment. Euro yen. I like the euro yen if it gets back below about the 106, 30, 40, and even 50 area, but it's getting a little choppy in there, so I'm not doing too much with that one. Same thing with the pound yen. Aussie dollar's looking interesting. So remember in the website, as you guys saw there, 130.85 was our break level at the top. 130.40 was the break level at the bottom, and we saw 130.40 break, and it ultimately ran just about 25 pips, big retracement, and it's right back down again. So it's kind of chopping around. Um, and so as it continues to just kind of hop around, I just marked this low. This was the low of the candle bodies. We see some wicks down there below, but that's about 103.25, and it's trying to push below that, and I think it might actually be able to. But really, now at this point, our big break level, and you can see why this is, test, 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 is about 130.10 and ultimately 103.10 and ultimately 103.00. So 103.10 is kind of been the holding point, but 103.00 is going to be that typical round number. So we're going to need to see a break of 103.00 to really get this movement going to the downside. We're still hopping around in these channels, and so we've got to make a clean break of that. So 103.00 is still going to be the area I'm watching for. And several people have asked me kind of what targets I'm looking for. And I'm looking for about 102.50. You can see 102.50 right here, and you can see that that's kind of at the bulk of the bottom of the candle bodies here. We do have some wicks down there below about 102.30, but 102.50 I think is going to be a good area because the market's been there several times, and it's probably going to be able to get there a few more times. And so I believe if we get a break below this 103.00, then we're gonna actually see that happen, and we should have a nice little trade there. So keep your eyes on that. A lot of it's going to depend on what gold does, though, and gold has been the big factor. Gold's been the big gauge of kind of the activity that we've seen, which is nothing. Here we are, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days of gold just going absolutely, positively, perfectly sideways in a pretty small channel. I mean, for gold, it's small. It's almost 200 pips, really where the bulk of the movement is. We've had little dips out there and so on, but nothing significant. So we need to get gold moving so that we can get some dollar direction, but that may be into next week when we get some Fed news out. So we're keeping an eye on that. So right now, setups are looking good on euro dollar. If we get below 130.85 or above 131.65, Aussie dollar below 103.10 slash 103.00, or probably at this point we need to get back above to get out of this grossness 103.85 area. So keep an eye on that. We've got some good setups. More details will come in the chat. We're going to be live for the UK session tonight and live for the US session tomorrow morning. Best of luck, guys. I'll see you in the chat.